Good morning and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. I wanted to start at the top of the hour, then I realized I hadn't set up the page. Okay, this morning, Mardi Gras morning, 2018, Shrove Tuesday, Fat Tuesday, we have Jim Beam Choice. Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, aged 5 years, green label, charcoal filtered, as opposed to the original Jim Beam and the white label with the black cap. This has a green cap, which is not charcoal filtered. So we have a charcoal filtered 5-year aged Jim Beam, introduced in 1957 at a higher proof, 90 proof, and aged 8 years, but that changed. Versus, and Jim Beam Choice was discontinued in 2017, so I had to report, versus Redemption High Rye. '92 proof from Indiana, aged at least 1 year. So they both have an age statement. So what's it going to be? What's going to win? A 5-year aged charcoal filtered Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, or a 1-year aged bourbon whiskey, not even straight bourbon? Oh boy, the Jim Beam Choice was the Jim Beam Choice. I bought it in Frankfort, Kentucky, the capital city, and it cost me $14.99. The Redemption High Rye I bought here at Mathern's, and it cost me $22.99. If you ever see the Choice, buy it because it's gone. Now, there are a few lingering around. You might find it on the shelves for years after. It was discontinued, like I said, in 2015, but they might have started bottling some. You see what I mean? They might have started aging some in 2017. I said 2015. So in 2017, they might have just started aging some, but they might just go ahead and release it as Jim Beam and then not charcoal filter. I don't even think I don't think they have the charcoal facility anymore. Somebody told me that's the reason they stopped it. That Suntory, who bought out Jim Beam, didn't want to keep that facility going. But I have no actual proof of that. Just somebody told me that. But chances are you won't see it. But if you do, you want to get it. All right. So. All right. Kyle says, cheers, Jay. Original Jim Beam and a lot of different varieties from them used to be my drinks of choice. Then one day, my taste changed, and I can't take it anymore. I'd still like to try that Choice. Beam is cool with me, but maybe my taste will change one day. I'm still very favorable towards Jim Beam. Okay. Amber, clear, alcohol eggs. I gotta clean these. I thought okay, I was watching a video about the closing of the Fort Wayne Falstaff Brewery in 1989, and somebody went around with a video camera, pretty high quality camera, you could tell, had fade out feature and everything, and he was an employee, obviously, and he was going around making a video record of the brewery as it was still operating, but soon to close. I guess they got the word that the very old brewery in Fort Wayne, Falstaff Brewery, was going to close. So it's extremely interesting. I couldn't get my eyes off of it. It's 2 hours, though, so I've been every day trying to watch it, about 10 minutes at least. And just he goes into the engine room and goes down into these cellars they had. They call it cellars, with these, like a refrigerator door, and goes in there. And I didn't realize that those aging tanks had, the lagering tanks had lights inside. He opened up the tank and it was empty. You know, they had electric lights inside the tank. He said, this tank, they got ale, this one's malt liquor. And because he used to make a Falstaff malt liquor, it was called Greasy Dick malt liquor. Then they had the Ballantine ale and the Ballantine Burton, which is no longer made. So that was something to see, man. Just all that equipment and all that noise. And there used to be a Falstaff brewery in New Orleans that closed down in 1979. Some people say 78, some say 79. I'm not sure. I know it was then. About 10 years before Fort Wayne. You might remember back in the early 70s, Falstaff was one of your big beer companies. But even by the early 70s, they were starting to decline very badly. But I can still remember, well, I remember buying it. In 1996, I bought a 6-pack of Falstaff. But it had already been bought out by Pabst, and they were shutting down breweries left and right. But I would love to have gone into that Falstaff brewery in New Orleans and seen all that equipment. Now it's been turned into a apartment building. They tried knocking down walls in the Falstaff brewery in New Orleans, and that big ball they hit, the whatever they call that, to demolish buildings. It was bouncing off. It was bouncing off the wall. They couldn't knock it down. That's how thick the brickwork was bouncing off the wall. So they gave up on trying to knock down the wall. The statue of Gambrinus is still up there. Even after it shut down, that statue of the big fat guy holding the chalice of beer was up there. And it still has a big sign, Falstaff. And then they restarted the tower, the Falstaff Tower on US Highway 90 in New Orleans. When it's nice weather, it's green. If it's bad weather, it's red. And if it's kind of iffy, it's yellow, like a red light. Ron, hi, Ron. How are you? Glad to see you, says Maxwell. Greetings to you in the Russian Federation. All right, well, here we go. I don't think that the Redemption High Rye stands a chance against Choice, but I don't know that until I try it. Well, let's go. I think, now remember in the last video, Jim Beam versus Redemption, in only on the smell test did what I'm trying to say is I got it correct on just the smell test alone. I smelled both and I knew what it was. So let's see if that happens here. Okay. 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 Well, okay. Well, they both smell like bourbon, so there's a commonality there. I smell wood, but let's start breaking it down. This one might be more charcoal. There might be more char aroma. Charcoal filtering, charred wood, not sure. Now remember, you say no, bourbon has to be aged 2 years. That is not the case. Okay. Straight bourbon, that's a class. Straight bourbon must be aged a minimum of 2 years. If you just sell in bourbon whiskey, there's no aging requirement, except there's no length of what I'm saying. It has to be aged in charred oak barrels, new, never before used charred oak barrels, but it doesn't have to be aged a particular amount of time. Like I said in the last video, you could age it 2 days and say it's bourbon. Of course, it would still be clear. You know, it'd take about a year to get some kind of color on it. You can't add coloring. I mean, you can add coloring, but then it disqualifies it as a bourbon. See, so who is going to buy clear bourbon, right? And that's why it took 3 months to come from Louisville and Frankfurt down to New Orleans on the riverboat. By the time the corn whiskey got to New Orleans, it had turned what they call red. They call it red liquor. And people said, oh, they like that red liquor. Okay. So just in 3 months, it was starting to turn color, being in those charred oak barrels. So, but if you only waited a week, you'd have clear corn liquor and moonshine, whatever. That legally could be bourbon, but marketably it wouldn't work, not in a marketable sense. After telling about their feelings and impressions, I finally waited for this day. Today, Kraftwerk is in Moscow. Oh, okay. On Facebook, I'm getting ready to post in about a week and a half, a photo of an album I own from them called Autobahn from 1978. I have the 8-track and the LP, the vinyl. No scratches, is in perfect condition. I think I bought it for 25 cents, believe it or not. Autobahn. All right. On the aroma, though, this is tough. Now, I got to be honest. I mean, I don't have to be. I could cheat, but I have no reason to do it. I think this is the redemption because it's got more of that corn, and less, you know, the corn grits and less char. I think. Okay. I'm getting that burn, that 92 proof burn, that sweet corn grits, you know. You know, Kyle talked about getting turned off the Jim Beam. After all these morning sessions for what, 2 years now, and it goes on and on, I'm getting tired of bourbon. I'm so much more interested now into doing those Scotch whiskeys and the blended whiskey. Now, I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to abandon bourbon, you know, for like, I'm getting tired of it. It's like if you ate Church's or Popeyes or KFC fried chicken all the time, you might love it at first, but there would be that law of diminishing returns. You start to dislike it. You just get sick of it. So that's what's happening with bourbon. That corn grits flavor is just starting to wear on me. But I have a little bit more of the exercises to go through. So I have to go against Jack Daniel's Black Label, the old number 7, and the Green Label, the number 7. And then I have to do against the Wild Turkey 80 proof. That's a more pleasant. The Wild Turkey 80 is much more appropriate for my particular taste than the 101. The 101 is too strong, too harsh, and too not my style. But I know other people who just are devoted to it. This one seems more smoky, if you want to use, if one wants to use the word smoky, more charred, and I think more mild and pleasant. It's got to be the choice. My friend David, who is not a fan of Jim Beam, I don't know why. I like it. My daughter doesn't like it either. I don't know, but I think I'm right and they're wrong. But anyway, they probably think they're right and I'm wrong. But I gave him a bottle of Jim Beam Choice. And he said it was the best Jim Beam he ever had, and he blew through the bottle. So, and he was saying, where can I get some more of that? Because I like that charcoal filter, and that makes a big difference. I said, too bad you can't get it. Oh, he was aggravated. And he loved that, the Schlitz, charcoal filtered Schlitz. Gold Bowl. Oh, he said he thought it made a difference. So maybe he's sensitive to that. He said he thought it got a lot of the impurities out. And there was another beer we had, I believe that was charcoal filter or something. All right, well, anyway, enough of that. Let's go with the taste. Okay, sure, they both have a flavor commonly associated with whiskey. The caramel, the dried flowers, the candied fruitcake fruit, all that, the char, all the wood. So there's, these things are more alike than different, because if they weren't, I would have immediately called it, right? I wouldn't have to think. Are there differences? Yes. Are they profound? No. Is it worth paying $23 a bottle as opposed to $15 a bottle with these two? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can buy whatever you want to buy, and I encourage people to buy whatever they want to buy. Greenleaf was commenting on a video I made about Michelob, that I wanted to force light beer, you know, Bud Light, Coors Light drinkers to drink craft beer, which is a ridiculous idea, because I don't want to force anyone to do anything. Now, maybe in 1996, 97, when I first got into the beer hobby and I was trying all these different beers, yeah, I came on kind of strong because I wanted everybody to try all these new things, and I wasn't trying to force them to, but I was like leaning on them heavy. Try this, try that, try this, try that. But the general response I got was, you know, get lost. We're not interested in that. And it just was not happening. Most people I knew would not try new things. And so that was the wrong approach, and it didn't work anyway. And then it wasn't until the social media, Facebook, YouTube, Google Plus, all this, that you started meeting people who were into trying new things, you understand? So, but this idea that I wanted to force people to do it is wrong. It's untrue. And then he was saying I ridiculed people who didn't want to drink Michelob because I said they were all snobs. I said, but that's not true either. I didn't say that. I didn't say that is the case for all craft beer drinkers. I said that there's an attitude out there, and I run into it, so I know it's true, of that elite attitude that they would not try a Michelob just because it's mass produced. So I'm talking about particular attitudes within the drinking communities. I'm not painting a broad brush. Everybody's this way. Oh, well, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Think what you want. I don't care. I mean, I care that you're a viewer and that you're involved in watching, but I'm not going to just fight about particular things or immaterial things. Okay. Jacob Miller says, good morning, Jake. Good morning, Jacob. Good to see you. Well, see your name, All right. So let's call it. Oh, yeah. Wow, that's got a harsh edge to it. And I know that Jim Beam Choice does not have any harsh edges. That charcoal filtering rounds it out so nicely. And they put it in the charcoal filter after it comes out the barrel, I might add. Or they used to do it when it was in production. So this has got to be the Redemption High Rye. It is okay if you like that harshness, which I could live without, and that 92 proof, which I could live without, and that $23 a bottle, which I could certainly live without. Okay, so if I'm wrong, I'm going to be embarrassed, but I'm not wrong and I'm not embarrassed. Redemption High Rye, ha ha ha. Now I have gotten a few wrong during this Redemption march through the brands, but I haven't gotten it wrong very much. Maybe once, I think. So the clear winner, clear winner is the Jim Beam Choice. There's no argument about that in my booklet. There's no argument. Jim Beam Choice is better crafted, in my opinion. It's smoother. It's more enjoyable. It's more pleasant. It's nicer. It's just an all-around better product, in my opinion. This is certainly my opinion. My opinions only reflect me, okay? I don't answer for other people. I cannot. I'm not other people. Oh, yeah, just a jewel. I'm so glad I found it. And I was so worried that I would not find it when I was in Kentucky. But I did call a liquor store in Bowling Green, and they said, yeah, we got it. We've got it. But before I left Frankfurt, an hour after I got off the phone with Bowling Green, I found it at Red Dot Liquors in Frankfurt. There was only 2 bottles on the shelf. So if you go to Red Dot, I'm sure it's not there. I mean, I don't know that, but I'm pretty sure. All right. I got about 35% of the bottle left, so we can still employ that in any future challenges. There may be some bourbon challenges. I have that, or bourbon style whiskeys, let's call it, because I have the Speckled Tail American whiskey, not bourbon, but Speckled Tail American whiskey from Florida, believe it or not. It's probably not classed a bourbon because they're probably not using new barrels, but they're probably using used barrels. But they got it at Walmart on the shelf right next to Jack Daniels, and I said, how cute, how quaint, $10.99 a bottle. So, and that's from Florida. How you like that? Florida bourbon or Florida whiskey? Oh boy, Florida. Well, let's say bottled in Florida. It doesn't say distilled in Florida. There's a good tip off, right? Yes. Jacob says, have you witnessed the same elitists with whiskey? I have not, but I'm almost certain they exist out there. But it may not be as big of a group, okay? There may not be as many whiskey snobs as you get in the beer community. The beer community, from my experience, seems to attract many more fleas. You know what I'm saying? you get many more, I would call it deranged mentality. I met people on the internet, and they seem to be nice, and they're involved with beer. They're enthusiastic, of course, but when you get to know them more, they have this sort of like axe to grind in the background. There's an axe to grind. They have some sort of what do you say? Subdued or underneath, undercover, whatever the word is. Anger. There's a lot of anger. It's strange. And they some of them seem to be looking for a fight, and they're very touchy. I noticed this in the beer world. They're very prickly, touchy. Like, it doesn't take a lot to set them off. I haven't, and it could be the case, I just haven't encountered that in wine. But my friend Paul says, oh, wine is the worst. If you ever want to run across the most arrogant snobbery, you get into the wine world. Well, my experience in the wine world is so low shelf. I'm dealing with stuff where people think Carlo Rossi is a choice product. So in a way that's good. That's good, because you're not running across. I mean, they might have a bad attitude in the sense that they drink too much, and they want to know where the WIC office is located in town, and how do you get off meth and all of this, and they're asking me these questions. But they might be more easygoing. Literally, they're maybe more laid back in some ways. But then in the beer world, I've just run across some real uptight. That's the word, uptight people, like very uptight. Flinty, that type of person, like flinty. They go from 0 to extremely angry in 10 seconds. Furious. I never seen anything like it. You know what I'm talking about. Let's be friends on Facebook. And I say, okay. Oh, I'm going to unfriend you because you have political views I don't like or something. I say, well, don't a lot of people have political views that are different from yours? I don't know. It's a strange, or, oh, you did, and there's all that, or you said, I don't even understand what they're talking about usually. There's all this factionalism. Oh, you're not going to be part of our group anymore because you, and it's not just me they're going against. They do other people. Oh, he lives in the West, and he's too rural or something. I don't understand all that. It's crazy. 0 to angry in 1 second sound like a Cajun temper. Staunch risk indicated. Yeah, but you're talking about Cajuns or Acadians. They're usually sort of I mean, they'll fight, and stab you, or but they might, but they'll still say, hey, let's eat some crawfish, let bygones be bygones. They don't harbor all this to my knowledge, this ongoing deep-seated anger, and that's what I've run across in the beer world, this anger. Oh, I'll get you. I don't like you. I'll show you. I'll get you. I never ran across people like that in real life. What I'm saying. Well, not too many people, maybe a few, but it's very bizarre. And then, like Jean-Pierre says, aren't we all supposed to just be drinking beer together and having a good time and talking about beer? I said, theoretically, Jean, that's supposed to be the case. You would think so. But as we can see through practice, this is not the case. But I'm not going to, but you know me, you know me, I'm not going to feed into the factionalism and I'll show you, you're not going to be in my group. I'll show you, I'll kick you. I don't do that. No, 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 never, never. If we are not able to accept other opinions, it will be our downfall. Well, yes, that's right. And Staunch Risk says, yeah, sounds like they're in limitations, not yours. I agree with that. You know, I'll give you a perfect example. Like a guy on Facebook has a whiskey group. Well, I was indifferent to it. I didn't care either way. You know, he's sort of when I allowed to talk about uptight, you know, uptight, hot, quick to anger, slow to forgive. Well, never, will never forgive, you know, quick to anger. So he's somebody else who were mutual friends with added me to the whiskey group. Well, I said, oh, well, I have my own group anyway, Alcohol Legs. I said, but I'll join, you know, just to join. And I'll post some positive things, you know, I'll post positive things, which I did. Well, he kicked me out the group. And then, so they started coming to me, not me personally. They started coming to me. Why did you get kicked out? I said, oh, I don't know, but I've got some ideas. And so I talked to him online, and I said, he was coming at me with his bait on a hangout, trying to bait me. And I said, well, you can't kick me out this group. Well, that's when he went off, you know. I said, you kicked me out of that group. He said, well, I don't like you. Now that was his, that's his standard. So my point was, your group is not authentic. It's not about whiskey. It's about personal considerations. And I said, you need to change the name of your group to, I'm not going to name it because then he'll come at me in 10 minutes and say, you're talking about me on the air. You know, this is what I'm talking about. I don't care what you do. Like he'll say, I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do. I'll just watch every video you make. But I say you need to change it to group name, comma, except for people I don't like. Now, that is not a qualification for any group I have. I have a rock and roll club. It's a music group. You can join. I don't have to like you. Although in my mind, I can't think of anybody I particularly don't like. If you post music and you follow the group guidelines, you could stay in there forever, you see. You're not going to get kicked out. Now, obviously, if you violate the guidelines, you're going to get kicked out. And you'll have people join a group just to do that. You know, like somebody might post a song from Journey. Well, I don't really care for Journey. Because it's more, to me, it's more like girl music, you know. But I might just say something like, oh, I've never heard that song before. You know, something like that. I'm not going to make a big thing out of it. But you get these troublemakers, they'll say, Journey sucks, you know, like they're trying to make trouble. Well, yeah, we'll take you out the group for that, because you just, the whole purpose of your comment is to hurt other people and to make trouble, and you want the fight, you see. Same thing in the Alcohol Legs. You might post a beer that I don't like. I'm not gonna come at you and say you're stupid for drinking that. You know, you know those type of people. I might just say, oh yeah, I've had that before, you know, innocuous comment. Now, if they press me on it and say, what do you think about it? I might say, well, you know, I didn't really care for it, but I can understand that other people like it. Something like that, you see. But I think y'all know, you're watching, you know what I'm talking about, the kind of attitude, the bad attitude and the good attitude. And the whole point, getting back to the original point, is I have run across more fear and loathing on the internet in the beer world. Fear and loathing on the internet. Just people that are angry as hell, but for no particular reason. No sensible reason. But in my case, I'm not angry at all. So I'm not going to get into your social malaise, malaise, depression, anger, factionalism, divide and conquer attitude. I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't. I just want to my whole purpose back in November 2010, positive energy projection, positive energy projection. And I even told one of the beer reviewers, but he took his ball and went home. You understand? He took his ball and went home. I said, if you can find, and I said, this is a great challenge. You should enjoy this. I said, if you can find any video any reviewer ever made, any, and this goes back to 2009 when I started commenting, 2010, started commenting. Any video where I ever made an ugly comment to anyone, I will send you money Now, this is a great offer. I will send you money. But of course, it wouldn't be possible for him to find such a comment. And he well knows that. So he took his ball and went home because he was doing some very bad, nasty things, you see. We don't like nastiness. We like niceness, friendliness, peace, love, harmony. Now, the viewers might say, you seem very liberal. Well, I'm liberal. I'm like a classic liberal, not a modern liberal. Classic liberal. Everyone is free to think what they want to think. Modern liberal is, I will use the power of government to stop you from saying things I don't agree with. See the difference? All right, but that's politics. So, all right, so back to the original point. You know what I'm saying? The original point. Jim Beam choice destroys Redemption High Rye. Sorry, I have no particular animosity towards Redemption. I wish him all the best, but in my experience, it's far from the best. Jacob Miller said, I've noticed there are coffee snobs as well. Oh, well, if those coffee snobs looked in my cabinet and saw great value medium blend from Walmart, they would probably want to come at me with a knife, right? They would literally want to come at me with a knife. Well, that'll be the day when I ever get upset about coffee snobbery. Well, there's music snobs too, and I have a few. There are a few music snobs in my and rock and roll club, and they're sort of like on the border of trying to get kicked out. You know, the type of people they want to get kicked out. That way they can say, "You kicked me out," but they're music snobs. You know, they join rock and roll club. Now, this is funny, you know, comical. I'm gonna join rock and roll club. Okay, makes sense. But all they ever post is blues music. Blues. Now, they could go and form their own club, blues club. All right. Okay. Every day, I let them do 2 posts a day. You can do 2 music posts a day. Why is that? I want to be a dictatorial administrator? No. If you do 2 a day, then it gives every member of the group a chance to listen to everybody else's songs. Fair, right? Everybody's busy during the day. We don't have time to sit there for 10 hours a day listening to music we don't care about. Okay. Now, here's the blues people. Okay. Do I listen to it? Yes, I've listened to every music post ever posted in that group since November 2015. I'll tell them, well, I never heard that before. Okay. Now, here they come. People post too much regular rock. It stinks. Rock and roll music stinks, like Van Halen. What did they say? No one wants to listen to Van Halen and free. This is like the mentality I'm dealing with. No one, now notice the word, no one wants to listen to Van Halen and Fleetwood Mac. So I'm posting this obscure blues artist from, you know, Memphis, Tennessee, who did a video in 1991 in front of 300 people. This is real music. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, other members of the group, they're telling me, come at them, come at them, come at them. You know, I'm saying, no, no, no. I'm gonna give them a lot of their own rope and let them hang themselves. You know, I don't have to come at them because your own statements sink your own ship, right? Like, right. No one ever listened to Fleetwood Mac because they never made anything popular. Like, whoever wanted to listen to Rumors or Mirage or Tusk or Tango in the Night? No one listens to that, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, it was a 40 times platinum album, not a platinum album, a 40 times platinum album, but no one wanted to listen to that. So I don't get angry about those comments because they're comical on their face. And then the person gets even angrier because I'm the only one listening to their blues posts, right? No one else even gives it any attention. Now, Staunch Risk says, coffee people frighten me. Coffee intensifies the fight or flight response. Can you imagine that a pleasant item like coffee that's supposed to bring people together would intensify a fight or flight response? Hate. Now, John Redbarley says, I hate when people think an artist is good only because no one knows who they are, which usually is for a reason. Right, right. That's the whole thing. To imagine that the person is saying, Van Halen, all they ever put out was garbage. It's like, right, because Van Halen, 1978, and Van Halen 2, and Women and Children First, and Fair Warning. Everyone knows that's garbage, right? No self-respecting rock and roll fan would ever listen to Fair Warning. Right. A real man listens to this obscure artist that I recorded in 1998 in Austin, Texas at a barbecue. That's right. And he went insane and got on heroin and killed himself. But he's a real artist because he had deep thoughts. Okay, I got you. I totally understand where you're coming from. Of course, you might ask the question, why did you join a rock and roll club if you hate rock music? But why nitpick, right? Okay, so anyway, enough rant and rave with Ronald. I don't want to let logic get too embedded in this discussion. Okay. We're going to go with Redemption against Jack Daniel's Black Label. I don't see that being much of a contest, and I'm not a great Jack Daniel's fan. I could live without it. You know, it's kind of like Budweiser. I could take it or leave it. But I have perspective, right? I don't drink Budweiser and say it's a 0 out of 100. I just might say, well, I like it. I can't lie on the internet and say I don't like Budweiser. But it's not like the greatest thing, the king of beers in that sense. But right, when you have the lack of perspective, you say it's a 0 out of 100. Basically, it's undrinkable. You would rather be tortured by Iraqi terrorists than drink Budweiser. And I'm sure the same thing in coffee. Like great value, you know, I would cut off my right arm before I drank great value coffee. Well, it's probably made by Folgers. Well, I mean, Folgers, they would ram their car into a bridge before they drink Folgers. That's macro coffee. Those people don't know what they're doing. They're a bunch of idiots. You know, the same, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to entertain it. It's insanity. Thank you. Have a great Mardi Gras day. But most people are probably going to work.